Well, now, Sox Pop, derived from the Latin, 157. It's been a month or so since we've had a Mothership podcast. Sorry to be away. I know you didn't miss me. My name is Brett Ballantini, hosting this podcast as so many others, and we will be examining why that is, how that is, why it should be, why it could be, will it ever be again. During the course of this hour or so that we spend talking about the White Sox, catching up on what's been going on, because I think there's been stuff going on. I was off the continent. Don't blame me or credit me or don't credit me. I'm back and things have gotten worse again. So, trust me, I'll be happy maybe to exit stage left. So you won't have me to kick around that much longer if things proceed the way they're proceeding. Well, hey, we got good news, and within minutes, bad news came, and that good news came in the form of, I don't know, Tony La Russa was back, and now Chris Getz is going to run the White Sox, and some crazy ass, like Bible-beaten a jag bag from the Kansas City Royals is going to be like the senior advisor, because Lord knows you can't just let a GM be a GM. He has to have a little father figure in the front office with him, and it's all sickening. It made me not want to do this podcast until I saw all of these friendly, familial faces here with me on this podcast, including California. I don't know if we can call him Super Joe anymore. I don't know when the last time he won like a Sox math was, but do they even do Sox math anymore? Who cares? It's California Joe Resis, Melissa Sage-Bollenbach, along with Crystal O'Keefe, carrying a lot of the load while I was off wherever I was, not caring about the White Sox. And boy, I wish I could be in that place right now. Thank you, Melissa. Ryiin with us as well, probably up in the cuss factor, but representing the Seattle Mariners, as we all wish we could. And undetermined vibes, Jacki Krestel, probably bad vibes, Jacki Krestel, but I'll let her speak up for herself. And of course, joining us just as we start to crack into this podcast, it is Malachi Hayes, bringing his sense of vibes, which probably also won't be terribly good. Okay, before I turn it over and never talk again on one of these podcasts, let's just catch up on the White Sox. They cannot have a winning season. No shocker there. But did you think it would be impossible for them to have a winning season in 2023 in August? I bet you didn't. Certainly not when this season started. You didn't think that, but yes, it's still August, and the White Sox cannot have a winning season. And right now, the real question is, will they lose 100 games? Will they be as bad as the 2018 team? A very different stage of White Sox history, apparently climbing toward contention, and that so-called contention window in 2018. White Sox will need to go 10-18 to avoid that 2018 fate. Become, I believe, tied for the 6th worst team in franchise history. I think that's roughly what it is. 10-18, and they will only lose 99 games. Not that we care about that. Is anybody even paying attention to games anymore? I guess we have to. We write a site called Southside Sox, so I guess we have to. All right. I got thoughts, but I've talked long enough. I've introduced my 5 very best friends in the whole wide world. I've missed them. So, Jacki, I'm going to call on you first because you actually betrayed where you're feeling today. And it sounds to me like you go from being furious to indifferent or ambivalent. And I believe today was sort of an ambivalent type of day. So kick us off. How are you feeling these days, Jacki?
Not great, Brett. Not great. So I oscillate between just being furious at how the organization is run and decisions that are made that don't make sense to me, and apathy because there's and that's where I am today. I'm apathetic just because there's nothing I can do to change it. And the White Sox are going to continue to White Sox as long as the current regime is reigning. And Jerry's going to do what Jerry's always done and will continue to do. So it's just very, you know what? I take it back. Maybe not apathetic, a little touch of the depression as well. Like, man, this sucks. Like one thing that, is supposedly supposed to bring us some joy in our lives, right? Sports. And I can't even enjoy that because the organization is just so laughably incompetent. It would be funny if I wasn't a White Sox fan. It would be very funny, but I am, and it's not.
And what hurts, I think all of us like more than just baseball, but I think I speak for the other five here, and that baseball is the primary sport. The White Sox would be first love. It is the case for me. There was a time maybe the Bulls and the Sox were maybe equal. Way back in the day, I was a shuffling crew kid, so I was, I loved Walter Payton, but that, then I grew up and I realized it's football. Leave that behind, buddy. But I mean, I think we all are. I mean, if not our first sport, I mean, it's right up there. So that part hurts too. We're not just talking about, the Bears, I mean, or whatever. That makes it a little bit extra hard too.
I've said this before, but I think I can confidently speak for most, if not all of us here on the panel, if not most of all White Sox fans, where our love for the Chicago White Sox is an unrequited love. It's not returned.
Yeah. And they're proving it every day. And the middle fingers are just, well, I'll talk again later, but other vibe checks from the other four of you. Where you at?
I've had one foot out the door all summer. Like, honestly, I think I predicted 78 wins, and they're not even going to get to 78 wins. I don't think. I was saying in jest that Chris Getz would get promoted, but I thought that would be under the umbrella of Hahn and KW, but not as the sole decision maker. Somebody who was woefully unqualified, even amongst White Sox people, woefully underqualified. So I'm it's hard for me to actually have any kind of serious reaction other than just because it's just been so bad, and you can't. It's hard to believe that they would have done anything else. So getting the news that it's probably going to happen tomorrow is really just kind of it felt inevitable. So I mean, I might as well just cut the cord and embrace a better team and just live, 5 blocks from the stadium, completely ignoring them if I didn't cover the team. I don't know. I watched the first game in a couple of weeks today because I was doing a recap. It was awful. I'm just I'm ambivalent. I'm truly at that point, 30 years of fandom. I'm just ambivalent because it's just the way they do things, and I just don't have the energy to be pissed about it anymore.
Well,
life is short.
Ryiin, sorry I did this to you. Sorry I invited you and I did this to you. Now you're yoked with it, at least for another few weeks. And I am
here of my own volition. So yes, thank you for taking some ownership of that rip. I said yes. You
did.
You asked me, and I had trepidation, and then I'm just okay, I'm going to dive right in, and here I am. Dear God, it's my own fault too, so I can't blame anybody but myself.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of blaming yourselves, all right, I got 3 more of you to share some feelings. Where you at?
Go ahead, Joe. Okay. I kind of oscillate between apathy and laughing at the team now. I haven't really gotten overly angry or sad in a little while. The laughing is a little bit therapeutic. I think if this Chris Getz rumor is in fact true, then it's yet another thing that is worth laughing at, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, I just don't think he's really done anything of substance that would lead me to believe that he is qualified for a job as highly ranked as general manager of a Major League Baseball team. He's struggling with the job that he's currently in because the development on the farm has been poor throughout the entire time he's been there. I mean, the only time the farm system has been even decent throughout his time as farm director is, when they've traded a bunch of current talent for future talent, and they got other organizations products who were pretty close to finished at that point to inflate their farm ranking. And I mean, he was a below average, slightly above replacement level player as a major leaguer. I don't know, maybe he'd do a good job as like some sort of coach, but certainly not general manager. I mean, the baseball thing that I think he's probably best at would be like pick for a White Sox Royals square on immaculate grid. He'd probably be a very good percentage. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, it's hard to see them doing well with Chris Getz as general manager. I mean, he's probably a step down from Hahn even, which, I mean, that's incredible that I'm saying that. Like, they got rid of Hahn and are somehow possibly getting someone worse for the position, without even really trying to search for anyone. I mean, it's just, like I said, it's laughable behavior, not a serious organization.
Joe, step back. He orchestrated he told a secretary to buy dozens of bus tickets from North Carolina to Birmingham so that they all could gather together and get right into games and playing games, real confidence booster. And then he even had the cool Project Birmingham name. Oh, you are really cheating.
Hercules. Like, woo, we're all going to applaud Project Birmingham. What came of that?
Yeah, well, they're all back there now. Okay, we welcome in Brian O'Neill as well. Brian, we were just doing a little bit of gut check. We got Melissa still to hear from. Malachi and Brian. Just sort of where you at? Talk about a leading question. Hey, where are the rest of you at?
I'll jump in. So Jacki kind of touched on it for me. So I'm at the point where I'm like going out to dinner with girlfriends tonight, and on my drive there, I'm like thinking about this, like seriously, like where am I at with the White Sox? I'm like, I'm going to do something fun. Why am I thinking about this? But like sad is actually like where I was at with it, because I feel like for a lot of us, the White Sox are ingrained in who we are, because from, the earliest memories that we have until now in adulthood, we have these connections of so many different layers, like grandparents who are no longer here, or parents, and now our own children. And so it just has tied into our lives in so many ways that, like, me seriously thinking about, of course I've joked, like, I'm going to get on the, Angels bandwagon. Can't do that now because they totally gave up too. But like, I'm going to get on the bandwagon of like another team, and why I could like sit and watch it and be interested in it. It doesn't feel the same. And I can't, like, I just really struggle with, like, I can't, it's like being in a bad relationship. Like it treats me terrible. I get no love in return, like Jacki said, but I also can't see myself like completely walking away. And that's a really yucky kind of feeling. Like, it's something that I've been so passionate about, and it's been such a big part of my life, but now is like imploding. And I'm at this space of like, I just don't even know what to do. So that's where I'm at.
Well, again, Melissa, apologies. It's been about a year now. I'm sorry to extend the invitation. I love having you, but the guilt I'm feeling is enormous. I am so sorry that you're here as part of this with enormous responsibilities with the site. But thank you at the same time for sharing the burden, because otherwise I would be dead. So
like, it's the people we meet along the way too. Like, Sox fans are so awesome. Like, our whole staff, like, from one of the friends at dinner tonight is like, so how, she doesn't watch baseball or anything. So she's like, so how are the Sox doing? I'm like, they're horrible. She's like, well, how are you doing? I'm like, it's because the people are so cool. Like, whether it's our staff or the people on Facebook or, our different social medias, like, Sox fans are most of them, the ones that don't shoot themselves, are really cool.
All right, let's go in some sort of attendance order. Malachi Hayes, I need to hear from you where you're at.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you two, Melissa and Jackie, on the apathy a little bit. I feel a little bit, excuse me. I feel a little bit fortunate in some ways that the White Sox of the 2010s before this crash taught me to love baseball without a good White Sox team. So I feel fortunate that I'm, just kind of going back into that checkout mode of, the White Sox aren't really relevant to the good baseball players and teams that I'm keeping tabs on. But yeah, to the point that all you guys have also said, I mean, it's just sad. Chicago is fun when its sports teams are good. People are fun when the teams they're fans of are good and there's something to talk about and you can partake in that joy together. And just knowing that there is very little hope of catching that with each other over the next few years is nothing short of depressing, other interests in baseball aside. Yeah.
Okay, Brian.
Fine.
Where are you at?
Yeah, good. Yeah. Yeah, everything's cool. No, it's one of those, I was thinking about this today. Like, it's one of those, I mean, I'm with everyone. It's frustrating. It's maddening. And it's kind of like, when you're walking the lakefront path and you see a car turning on there because it thinks it's a street, and you're looking at it and you're like, this dude's not going to do that. He's not going to make this dumb decision. That's going to.
What are we doing, buddy? What are we doing?
Yeah, but then you're like, okay, he's not going to do it. And then they do it, and there's nothing you can do. The car, you can't stop the car. You have no control over this. And it's really frustrating. And that's how I kind of feel as a Sox fan. Like, they're going to promote Chris Getz tomorrow. Who, I don't know, maybe he's a decent dude, loves dogs. I have no idea. We all know this is not the job for him. And it's like, there's nothing any of us can do. We could march down the 35th Street, 30,000 strong, and it wouldn't change anything. And that's just maddening. It's a maddening part about being a sports fan. And, but yeah, everyone else said it. So, we're still going to follow this team. I can't give them up. Got 43 years of sunk cost fallacy. I'm going to keep that.
There's a T-shirt. Sunk cost.
That's the Jerry Reinsdorf era in a nutshell, and pretty much everything. 40 years of sunk cost fallacy. Every respect.
All right. We're going to take a break, but not yet. I'm going to read some copy. Hey, we have an opportunity with Fans First Sports Network. Speaking of other sports you might be interested in, I'm not, but don't let my opinion about the National Football League sway you here. Attention, sports fans. Are you a fan of an NFL team? Would you love to attend your favorite team's Week 1 game? Week 1, it's coming up. You're in luck. Fans First Sports Network is giving away four free tickets to the Week 1 NFL game of your choice, up to $5,000. Are those Bears tickets $5,000? I hope not. Some team charges $5,000 for Week 1, and if you like that team, you're going to get those tickets. Cost doesn't matter to Fans First Sports Network. They want you to win this contest. Okay, the rules to enter are simple. So simple. Go to contest.fansfirstsports.com. That's contest.fansfirstsports.com. And fill out the appropriate information. That's nothing important. Name, whatever. That's it. Once you've done that, you've been officially registered to win the 4 free tickets. 4 free tickets to any Week 1 NFL game. Not Week 2, not Week 10. This is Week 1 when it's still hot. And you still care. So what are you waiting for? Go enter for your shot at seeing your favorite team in action. The contest ends on September 4th. So go enter before September 4th, because then you're going to lose. You're going to be mad at me, and I don't need you yelling. I got enough people yelling at me. Don't yell at me about some NFL contest. Anyhow, Fans First Sports Network, they're awesome. They keep us going. They're our network. We're the prime baseball show. We're the prime sports show on Fans First. Don't look up the numbers. The metrics aren't going to tell you that. The metrics are going to tell you that nobody cares about Sox Populi. Well, they're wrong. Sox Populi rocks the Fans First Sports Network. So the least we can do is promote this for free tickets to a Week 1 NFL game. So go ahead. Obviously, I'm going to lose all of my guests here because they right now are typing in contest.fansfirstsports.com to enter because they want 4 tickets to an NFL game. I don't know where they're going. Bears, are they going? I don't know. But they want NFL. I don't want them. I'll enter, but if I win, I'm going to give them, I'll give them to one of these fine people here because they've been with me on this site and suffered for so very long. Anyhow, enter that contest. We're going to take a commercial break later on. So let's jump into something else to talk about. And it is it touches on, I think, a lot of what each of you said, certainly what Brian just said. This whole notion that this is in our bloodstream, that this is our team, that we can't say no to them. And I'm going to challenge that notion because I'll be honest with you, I'm not so sure about myself. And I am the tenured White Sox fan here. You wouldn't know it by looking at us, but I've got Melissa by just mere years. You'd look at her and say, that's like a couple decades, that kid. But no, actually, she's almost been a White Sox fan as long as I've been. So I'm interested to know what her feelings about this are as well. But I have to say, we have suffered wound after wound. Malachi made reference to the fact, and younger fans such as himself who might barely have a notion of a World Series win or even a playoff prior to 2021, whatever we want to call those. Maybe that's an advantage because your expectations have been so lowered. I've said this on podcasts in the past, probably not this year because it's been an ugly year. But this isn't the way the White Sox have traditionally been. You can't beat your chest and brag. Okay, you're not a Yankees fan if you're a White Sox fan. Okay, I get it. But this is not what the White Sox are. This embarrassment of errors. This just utter embarrassment. The fact that now we may want to hide the fact that they're a White Sox. We are White Sox fans. This isn't what it's been traditionally. This year, the Hahn era has changed things. And now we are a laughingstock. And there is no laughingstock greater than the White Sox. And the decision being made, what seems to be likely on Thursday, or that's coming around the corner, is setting it in concrete in a way that even the Tony La Russa hire, I'd argue, wasn't. And some of the other things that have happened. Even the Pedro Grifol, continuing to employ Rick Hahn, let's say. Even the redacted signing. You could say it's a year. I think all of us figured he'd flame out. He started poorly. It didn't seem like he would last the season. It certainly didn't seem like he would have the second best WAR on the Chicago White Sox in 2023. This is a direct middle finger. I would argue more so than any of these other middle fingers. Tony La Russa could still say, all right, he's in the Hall of Fame. What damage can he do? And let's face it, at this point, I'm not even sure if the criticism for Tony La Russa sticks the way it once did because he did win 93 games. I don't know how much of a role he played in that. He wasn't falling asleep in the dugout that year. Whatever. I do not know that my fandom can cross the transom of hiring Chris Getz and Dayton fucking Moore. I do not think I can do it. I'm going to try. I'm going to think it over. No decisions are being made yet. But I don't know if my fandom can last. I am curious to know, as the subhead on this podcast, the first one in a month, is decision time. For me, it is decision time. I don't think I'm the only one. I think Ryiin has already acknowledged their decision may already be made. And that's challenging. We don't want to be in this position. I'm curious to know, are you approaching the edge of the cliff? Any of you here? Are you already free falling? Is there ever an edge for you? Because some of you may not. Some of you, it may be so much in the blood that you will never reject the White Sox. They could do anything and you would never reject them. I can tell you as an 18-year-old kid or whatever, when they were going to move to Florida, I said, good riddance. Now that's maybe the foolishness of youth. I don't know. I was ready to sever my fandom there and I probably just wouldn't have been much of a baseball fan going forward. Well, I'm in a lot deeper now. And I don't think I'm going to pick another team. I can't jump to the Mariners or the Brewers. But I can seriously re-examine whether I can continue doing this now that there's a ramp up to just, Brett, we could give a damn about you. And at some point, it's too much. And right now, I feel it on my back, and I do not know that I'm going to be able to carry it any longer. I'm curious to know where the six of you are with it. I guess we do have Ryan's answer, but of course you're welcome to throw in Ryiin as well. Where are you feeling about the White Sox?
I'll jump in because you name drop me. I'll jump in and expound. I mean, I'm wearing this Mariners hat because they've rekindled the childhood love. Like Ken Griffey Jr. was my second favorite player growing up.
Sure.
And those 90s teams were second only to my Sox. But like, I've been a White Sox fan since the 1990 team. I'm 46 years old, believe it or not. Like, that's most of my life that I've been a fan of this sorry-ass franchise. And, like, the 94 strike, I was in high school. Like, that almost broke my baseball fandom. I didn't watch baseball until the 2000 White Sox reignited that. Of course, sadly, the Mariners did them in.
Yeah.
Like, we had 2005 a few short years later, and that solidified my lifelong White Sox fandom. And like even the 2010s, you still had some kind of hope. Like even Robin freaking Ventura, you still had some kind of hope. Like they launched a rebuild, you still had some kind of hope. Tony La Russa was a gut punch. Like it was like a knife wound and that just stuck there. But there was still hope there because there was young talent. We might have been going somewhere. Pedro Gafal, what is that dude? And this, Chris Getz, maybe I can survive Chris Getz. Dayton Moore is a deal breaker. Like, no questions asked. If they announce tomorrow that Dayton Moore has any official capacity, I'm done. I can't. Getz is bad enough with his endorsement of Omar Vizquel's shenanigans in the minor leagues. Like, no. This, dear God, if Dayton Moore and Chris Getz, the White Sox are always going to be in my blood. Like they're ingrained on me as part of my life. But if I weren't covering this team, I would be done watching. Like I am over that precipice at this point. My apathy would just take over, and I would only go to watch opposition teams play. Like, yeah.
Okay, I'm apologizing again. The rest of you, where yeah, because I'm
ownership for my own actions, Brett. But yeah, thank you.
All right, and again, because I mean, this is a big goal for me personally to cross. Ryan's thrown in, and I think we're sort of in the same place. We don't agree on South Side, but we agree on this. The rest of you, I'm curious to know if maybe there's any greater hope, if the pilot light is still well lit for any of you.
So, I mean, just in general, as a life philosophy, I try to look on the bright side of things because the world is pretty dark on its own, and I don't need to add to that. And so I'm not quite where you are, Brett. I'm not quite there. I still have probably foolish hope that things are darkest before dawn. And like, maybe there's still something that can turn things around. But if Chris Getz does indeed get hired tomorrow, as it's reported, like it's going to be pretty damn dark. And just, a slap in the face to anyone who has been a victim of or a survivor of sexual assault or sexual harassment. And, it's hard to admit that like the thing that you love doesn't love you back. But I mean, good on you that you're like far enough in your like, hierarchy of needs that you can like, because I still have cognitive dissonance that I'm gonna explain away for a while. But yeah, I mean, I have tried in the past to like not care about the team, but I can't fully not care about the team. I will always I mean, there's been other things in my life that I left behind too. And I always say, like, I still always root for them to get it right. They never do, but I'm always rooting for them to get it right. So I'm not there where I'm going to completely desert the team, and plus, as Melissa alluded to earlier, like within our staff and our White Sox friends, I mean, I went to the game on Friday. It was not to watch Michael Kopech and the Chicago White Sox lose 12-4. It was to see my friends. And this is what me and my friends do. So I don't know that I'm quite there, Brett, but I do appreciate your stance on that. I get it. I get it.
And let me make it clear. The only reason forget even reaching this, because we are, I think we can agree. We're closer to the edge of the cliff than we've ever been in our Sox fandom, no matter how long we've been, fans. I don't remember 1970. So, I wasn't on, or when they're about to move, or however many different times they've been about to move. I'd probably have ditched this before reaching the edge of this cliff right now, if not for all the wonderful people who I'm working with. And I think we all, we all reflect that, ad nauseum, we all love each other, and that's, and that's wonderful. And that's why I'm still here. That's why I'm even struggling with it now. And I think we're probably all in that place as well.
The other thing that I want to mention too is that even though things seem really dark right now, and like, okay, you might hate the Chicago White Sox, but you're not going to hate baseball. Baseball is still there. So
yeah, this is a test.
Thunderbolts game, and
yeah, this is a test. Oh no, you can't not love the sport. You're right, but Major League Baseball, Chicago White Sox baseball, challenging. All right, let me see the microphone here. Vibe check. We got good vibes. Oh, those vibes are really being challenged right now. The rest of you, more confidence? Is there a sunrise to come, or is it looking sort of dark the way Ryiin and I are seeing it?
So Jerry's not going to live forever. There's the plus. We are all a lot younger.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, Melissa. But all right.
Come on, Brett. We are in our 50s, and these guys are all younger than we are. So he can't. He's not a vampire. So like at some point,
not convinced.
I just have to be realistic about that and think, like nothing is forever. And at some point that tide will turn and will change. And so if I need to, despite having to write about terrible baseball, I still love this. So to still do this, but I don't have to be super invested. Like I can kind of take a step back and wait at the edge of the cliff and kind of wait for things.
Yeah.
And so
no cheering in the press box. They're making it easy for you not to cheer in the press box. That's for sure.
And we survived the 80s. We didn't know the ugly stuff behind the curtain because we're kind of young, I feel like we, and the media was different then and things like that. I bet there was some ugly stuff going on then too that we didn't know about. And they were really bad sans 1983. They were really, really bad. So I'm not going to jump. I'm not going to jump.
You are trying, Melissa. I'm giving you credit here. You are really trying. I am not following you, but you are trying. And I love you for that. That's wonderful. This cannot compare to the 1980s under any circumstances. And yes, that comes with the youthful exuberance of just not caring about the business side of baseball. And hey, the 1983 team won 99 games, but I appreciate that stance. I do. I respect it. And believe me, I wish I could, listen, I'll have some of what some of you are having because I want to get there, but right now I am not there. And I'm just fair warning. This is an ugly place, a dark place for me. Malachi, Joe, Brian, again, I'm sorry that the question's always vibe check, but where are you at specifically with staring into the abyss that is Chicago White Sox baseball 2024, staring into the abyss?
I personally feel this kind of will to resist the urge to check out because I think of why I'm a White Sox fan, and I think of all of the best memories I've had with the White Sox, and the thing that I enjoy about the team, and not just the team, but the culture and everything surrounded that we've talked about. And none of that has anything to do with Jerry Reinsdorf or any of these fuckos who are making this a terrible time for us. There was, to your point, Melissa, there was a time before Jerry. There will be a time after Jerry. Who's to say what it's going to look like? But I feel a really strong desire to not let what these jerks have done to this thing that we love define that thing and drive me and drive us away from it. That's my that is my the thing that's eating away at me, I suppose, is that it's hard to, you don't have to be. I'm not going to be particularly proud to be a White Sox fan. I'm not going to be shouting it from the rooftops, especially if this hire goes through, and as we expect, nobody's going to push Chris Getz on the decisions he's made and the things he said with regards to people like Omar Vizquel and things like that. And it's not going to make any of us feel good. And I'm not going to go, yay, White Sox, screaming that from the rooftops. I'm not going to do that a lot in the coming years, for sure. But I can't take that part out of me, and I'm not going to let them take that away from me when it is so much more than them. He owns the team, but it doesn't belong to them. I'll put it that way.
Malachi
Hell
says,
yeah, Malachi.
He says, "I'll show him. Double down." I like it, Hayes. I mean, I appreciate the spirit, guys. I'm stunned, but Brian, Joe, where you at?
I'll jump in, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I could have gone either way, but I think
you're rallying now.
We talked you up. We talked you up.
Go, Brian.
Honestly, and I don't want to get too personal here, but my old man was Southside Irish, and he raised us on the White Sox and Notre Dame, and I hate Notre Dame, but I loved them forever, and the patriarchy behind there, just the hierarchy, the cover-ups, the boosters, it took me forever to be no, this is everything I absolutely hate in life, and I feel a loss with it, even though I loathe them. I loathe their literally everything I hate about sports. But I still think of it it feels like part of me is gone, and I don't think I could do that with the White Sox. And I love what Malachi said. Jerry can't do that to us. Notre Dame is inherently corrupt and awful. You can't salvage that. But the White Sox don't belong to Jerry. I love what you said. I love that. Yeah, we have this community. We have these people. We have something that's much bigger than whatever rich guy is going to own it now or is going to own it later. That's good. I mean, I think my fandom, it's not going to wane. It might fade into the background like it has with the Bears for so long, where it's not this kind of omnipresent obsession. But it's not going to go away. I will be paying attention every game. Just won't let it eat me up the way it did. And maybe that's just a product of aging. Maybe that's just a product of maturity. Is not quite the right word, but whatever it might be. But yeah, I think it can't go away. I know it can't. Even if I were to try to hack off the limb, it would still itch all the time.
You know what this is like? This is like in The Grinch when he tries to steal Christmas, but the Who's all still keep singing.
So Brett's the Grinch?
No, Jerry Reinsdorf is the Grinch. No, this is heartwarming. Let's keep it up.
It is.
If you jag bags drag me back into this, I will never forgive you. Joe, hey, where you at, youngster? California Joe, where you at? You sprung out of you just left the Indianapolis field office behind. I think you probably left. I think Crystal had to clear out the fridge. Joe, you got some answering to do.
Yes.
But he just left it behind like nothing. So this is an opportunity for a clean break, buddy. Where are you at with your fandom?
Yeah, a front office led by Getz and Moore. It would be hard to see where the ray of sunshine would be. I will absolutely acknowledge that. And it would be wildly frustrating, of course, to have them, a duo be a step down from Hahn and Williams, which is what that would probably be. And similarly, I will address that it is another negative thought is it is possible that it's kind of hard to see, but it is possible that the next owner could be worse than Reinsdorf. It is possible. It can get worse. But, in spite of that, I don't see myself leaving the fandom in the foreseeable future. I feel like ultimately I've had a lot of good memories over the years, and it feels like something where it's hard to see right now, but baseball is hard to predict. You never know when the next magical season will come, and it's kind of reminding myself of my Cub fan friends before, when the Cubs were bad before they won the World Series, in the early 2010s, and they were like, oh, just wait till next year, But I think that's kind of what I've become of the slightly delusional hope of the next good thing, even though it's probably not gonna be soon. I think that will keep me around for the foreseeable future.
Let's take a quick break and come back. Fans First Sports Network, they're not just giving away tickets. They're selling you some stuff. I don't know what they're going to try and sell you here during this minute or two break, but I guarantee you it's going to be good stuff. Unless it's gambling. You can skip the gambling, but you still got to listen. So please hang with us. There's going to be good stuff at the end of this podcast. I can't swear fealty back to the White Sox quite yet, but who knows? Maybe there'll be some payoff here at the end of the podcast. Hang with us for a minute, and while I still have power, and we'll be back to wrap up this podcast. Hey, White Sox fans, Brett Ballantini, bet you never see me. You thought you'd see me again. Hear from me again. Well, I'm back. It's Sox Pop 157. Decision time. We've been talking about our decision about where we take our fandom, how disgusted we are with the team, how depressed we are, how much we love each other, how much we hate the team, how much we love the team. I don't know, football, some stuff. We've been talking about some stuff. I want to bring up an aspect of fandom that I think is inherent in White Sox fans. I make a big deal with crosstown play. Some folks are over it. Some folks even write columns about how we shouldn't hate the Cubs anymore. I'm not really pointing to anybody here, but I hate them. I want them to suffer. I mean, I'm sort of past it. We won a World Series, but apparently I'm not past it because I'm talking about the Cubs on a White Sox podcast. Shame on me. I'm a fool. But one thing I think is different from the lovable losers and from the urinal troughs and from the mall. It's a mall now. The mall. Is we're real people. We're real fans. We're baseball fans. One of the things inherent in being a White Sox fan has been to rally and defend the White Sox. When Paul Sullivan scurries his little stubby legs down into the crowd at Sox Park when there's a fight to snap photos, I want to be the first person there saying, what kind of freaking jagbag are you pulling these kind of stunts? No cheering in the press box for the White Sox. Also, how about not so actively against? Recently, Sullivan took like a minute before going up to 167 and talking to those fans. And I want to jump and say, what can I say? I have to actually be on the guy's side because these are stories that need to be told. This organization needs to be depanced. Passan, after the gun in the skin folds, whatever hell story came out today, his comment was like, the biggest hit of the eye was something, snarky and unfortunately appropriate. I want to jump, defend my team. I'm not like a gang warfare guy, but I do think something inherent in White Sox fandom is being willing to defend your team, defend your tribe, defend your family. The White Sox have stolen that from me now. What in the world could you do to defend this team right now? And I hate that's been taken from me. Sorry if I'm making this sound into some sort of weird street fighting thing, but I would say that's something more inherent in our fandom than it might be in other fan bases, especially given that we are a very rare two-team town. Thoughts? I don't necessarily expect the rest of you to be so fired up about this. I'm an old guy whose embers of fandom may be burning out. So, hey, listen, just let me swing as I go down. But, thoughts on that? Because I do think there's something to that. And I think that does connect to some of the familial connection we have at the site and under this fandom.
I think so. Like, I know Sox fans always we have a chip on our shoulder about the relative anonymity and the how we're ignored by the national media, but we've gotten a lot of national media coverage this year, and it fucking like it. You're right; it's an embarrassment. Like people are talking about the White Sox as a joke of a franchise, and normally it's just that franchise that no one pays attention to, which still had like a veneer of cool. There were still people cool people recognized that the Sox were the cooler team in town. It was better to root for them. It was less, however you want to define authentic, that even if that could be annoying, it still felt cool. It still felt like, yeah, maybe people are in, jorts playing jarts in the parking lot, but like that's sort of a White Sox thing. It's fine. And that's sort of our family. And now it is like there's this kind of cloak of shame around it. And it's annoying. And we don't have a hook on which to hang our hat at this point, and that can be extremely frustrating. Like there's just nothing good, or except for that it is a family that we do feel. There's a few 100,000. I don't know how many 100,000 fans there are. It's not tens of millions across the country, but that makes it feel better. And that's kind of all we have. And when you get to the point where everyone, you circle the wagons. And you start to get more insular, and that leads to weirdness, and that can lead to people acting strange and lashing out in ways that we maybe shouldn't. And so it's getting uncomfortable to be a fan. I don't have a way with which to wrap up this point, so I'm going to turn over to, let's say, Melissa.
Thanks, Brian.
Tag.
So I think as fans of any team, I think we tend to get a little self-absorbed into our own teams, because what I've been trying to do lately is it sucks being a White Sox fan, but also sucks being a Yankees fan. It sucks being an Angels fan. It sucks being a Mets fan. There's a lot of crapola going on in other organizations too. And because we are so absorbed in it every day and we're so passionate about it, I think we get a little, I don't know. I don't think it's as bad as we think it is. It's bad, but it's bad in other places too. So I'm going to defend us because we have Luis Robert Jr. and he's good enough to defend. I think that if you pull back the curtains in other places, there are enough crap in other orgs that we're not the laughing stock. At times, I'm sure we are, but there's plenty of others who are getting laughed at as well. So,
I mean, this season is kind of like the compounding outlier of negative and embarrassing things that just the shit pile keeps getting higher until we're at the point where it's we're debating whether somebody snuck a gun into the stadium in their fat flats. Does that happen in other organizations? It's just, I love the White Sox, and I hate them, but I love them, and I love our community, and I will defend our fans. And there's a chip on our shoulder because we've all our entire lifetimes we've been the underdogs in our own town. But this org just makes it hard sometimes. And the Mets flopped, but are we hearing about? I don't know. I'm stuck on the Fat Top story because it's just so damn implausible. Are we hearing mega embarrassing things like that out of the Mets or the Angels are a catastrophe, but we're not hearing about them hiring Chris freaking Getz, and dragging the corpse of Tony La Russa back and things like that. It's Jerry Reinsdorf is a special kind of screw you, I'm just going to do what I want embarrassment, and there's no defending that. But our camaraderie of defending our fandom and our team is one thing, but there's no defense of Jerry Reinsdorf for just some of the asinine, ass-backwards things that he's done with his franchise.
I think relative to what Ryan just said, that's another thing. For a long time, people said, "Oh, Jerry Reinsdorf broke up the Bulls," or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And listen, or he was behind the strike. He stole a World Series from the White Sox in 1994, 93, 94, whatever. there's no debate there either. You cannot defend Jerry Reinsdorf. Okay, those flags fly forever, I guess, but you can't defend Jerry Reinsdorf any longer. Not after mistake after mistake after mistake after middle finger after middle finger after middle finger. Even the fact that I can't even defend my team, I hate that that's been stolen from me. And Melissa, I love your perspective on it, but boy, I'm just not there. I really feel robbed more, even though we've been leading toward this. This has been a topic on a number of podcasts, right? Hey, where's your fandom at? Where's the vibe check? How we feeling? Hey, Tony Russo's here. Tony Russo's gone. What's going on? And this is darker and deeper and more suffocating than it's been. And it's tough to know where the pocket of air has come from. That said, other feelings about, I mean, maybe some of the tribalism of the fandom.
So I'm sorry.
You can go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to kind of double down on what Ryiin said, because I think that's a very good point. Because especially in the 2023 season, I can't defend the Chicago White Sox. They are indefensible, both with on-field play and off-field shenanigans. But what the hill I die on is to defend our fan base. Again, especially just there's so much dark in the world. You don't need to add to it. If it was another team that was down and Paul Sullivan feels the need to run into the section to dance on our graves, fuck off, first of all, and what kind, just be a decent fucking human being, and I don't know how to explain, just in general, I don't know how to explain to you that you need to care about how other people feel. But just be a fucking decent human. You can make fun of the team, and that's fair. I'll join you. They're dog shit. I will join you in making fun of the team. But some of the comments that I saw, and I know that there's no room for nuance on Twitter or X or whatever, but I mean the comments that I saw after that event on Friday, I was ready to hide some. I don't know. I was ready to punch some people. Can you find it in you to not be an asshole? That's my thing. I will not defend the team because they can't be defended, especially not this season. But I will defend our fan base. Yeah. Get out of Section 162, you piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, decent human being. That ship has sailed on Sully, I'm afraid, and unfortunately, a lot of the media. It's easy, it's lazy, and up until maybe even this year, we were able to call it out that way. And now I feel like that the fence has been taken from us. And you're right, it's a great distinction, Jackie and others who made it, where it's listen, the people, our colleagues, our peers in fandom. That's a different thing. But, to me, that's sort of a given for me. We know who we're riding with already. I'm always setting my sights to the pot shots out there. And it's just when the shield's been taken from us. And we've not experienced this before. And when it's the team taking it, this isn't ESPN saying, hey, 2005 doesn't exist, or Paul Sullivan reporting on, whatever the hell, whining or crying about something. That's not what this is. This is the team itself. Just emperor's new clothes. And this is a new territory.
Yeah, for the baseball operations specifically, I think I'm roughly on the same page as Melissa in that there are some organizations that have been a bit more disappointing this season. I mean, the hopes for the White Sox this year weren't exactly sky high. I mean, no one thought that they would be this bad, but I'm on the same page there, and that's in theory, yeah, they absolutely could have been more disappointing from a baseball perspective, and in the future, them having a potentially even worse front office. I'm kind of numb to that possibility because we've experienced and rooted for this team throughout the Hahn era for all this time. So I'm not insanely upset in that not much is changing. It was already pretty bad. The stuff that kind of puts me over the edge a little bit is the off the field stuff. like something, yeah, like it's been touched on, but like that mystery in section 162, like why is that happening? What, like, I have no explanation. Like that is not something that you could anticipate really happening ever in a Major League Baseball stadium, and it's still a mystery as to how exactly it all transpired. Yeah, it's generally, and that's just the latest event. There's been kind of a parade of off the field, non-baseball related activities that have brought attention to the White Sox on a national scale that have made the organization look bad. So for me, it's kind of like that's what kind of puts me over the edge as far as like, this is actually a unique bad situation right now.
I want to get to Malachi in a second, but I just want to insert one more thing as we wind this up. And it goes back to Getz, because I specifically want to hear from him on this. It goes back to Getz. It goes back to the fact that this is now just being reported again, although I want to say Hamster had a story out in 2019 about this. We have not relented on the fact that Getz he did not have nothing to say about Omar Vizquel. He decided he needed to powder Omar Vizquel's ass out the door. He could have said nothing. He chose not to say nothing. He chose to actually make it sound like Omar Vizquel, whose record with the White Sox was a very strong one season. Then he had those horrible interviews with teams like the Angels where he didn't know what analytics were. And then he had a terrible season in his next minor league season, and then he was dismissed for reasons at the time we did not know. Of course, we know now. Specifically, the White Sox themselves, very high up communications people, came down on me, in my opinion, in my writing on this article, trying to make themselves out to be innocent in all of this. And we know now, we knew then, and we know now they are not. The idea that we have to keep going back and forth with this team about things that should not be in dispute, the fact that this team can never admit, they can never take an L about anything. They're not taking an L about the fact that somebody, apparently, again, we still don't know the story, brought a gun into the ballpark that went off, that there is literally no topic that the White Sox can take an L on is incredibly downpressing to me. And the fact specifically now, the person being hired and being, by some degree, rewarded for behavior that was awful years ago. Forget even the track record, which is also, by the way, sorry, Project Birmingham, awful. It is very daunting to me. And Malachi, I'd like to kick it to you to at least begin maybe a final round to discuss specific Chris Getz as the person in charge of this team. We have lamented, we have donated, we have not even named the starting pitcher who has played on this team all year long. And this actually seems like a worse decision even than that. This is rewarding this type of behavior. It tells me nothing's going to change about this team. It tells me that Redacted is probably coming back for 2024, and it's disgusting. And I just specifically the fact that several of you are rallying to try to see sunshine and so forth. And again, I don't want to be the Grinch, so I'm going to just stand down here. But it's just, there's some of the stuff that is hard to climb over. Malachi, I'd like you to kick off in just in terms of specifically hiring Chris Getz on a number of levels is horrible. I think I outlined several of them. Are you just waiting him out too? Your attitude more than I think anybody's was sort of like, you know what? My fandom's stronger than this. I'm going to jut my chin out even further, and you are not going to make me not a White Sox fan. And I admire that, but this cannot be easy when you hear this news likely on Thursday.
No, and I think we should note, to put it in even stronger terms that you just did, it's not just that he praised Omar Vizquel out the door, is that he abjectly lied about the reasons for dismissal. He could have left it vague. He could have said if it was some kind of, I don't remember what the exact quote was, but essentially that they framed it as a mutual decision that was more philosophically based than anything else. We obviously know that is not true. And the fact that he, even to this point, hasn't been pressed on it is heinous. And even all that stuff aside, from the pure baseball standpoint.
Can I just interject, Malachi, as long as you brought it up? This is Merkin's quote. From Getz, listen, Omar, ultra-talented player, very good instructor, created a good environment for our players. We just felt it with where things are at, our player development system, it was time to go separate ways. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but specifically the quote.
And that is so incredibly disingenuous. And the fact that he hasn't been pressed on it to this point is, like I said, heinous. And the fact that he probably won't be is equally so. And even that aside, he's just incredibly he's probably the most underqualified GM in baseball by a long shot. He has no history in baseball operations. He, to my understanding, hasn't worked for another team. He got essentially fast-tracked to the top of the White Sox front office due to his relationship to the owner and prior relationship to the front office. He has failed pretty abjectly as farm director. The record speaks for itself. They're both player development and the actual wins and losses. It's hard to sit through that. And that's what I mean when I say I'm not going to be shouting my White Sox fandom from the rooftops. I'm not going to necessarily be, being for me, being a fan doesn't mean cheering their every move and getting up and down with everything they do. It means having some level invested in them and, following them and being interested in what they do. And I'll be happy to an extent when they win, if the people involved aren't, utterly horrible. But it's not something that I feel like, has to, it seems weird to say, but like me being a fan of the team doesn't mean I need to feel positively about the team. I don't find personally a conflict between being a fan and being disgusted with the team that you're a fan of, and still, being invested to a level in what they're doing, even if you don't necessarily have the kind of I'm riding high with them and I'm sinking low with them that we kind of maybe typically associate it with. So that's my two-pronged answer to that there.
That's funny you say that too, Malachi, because when I was on the beat, I would get criticism for being a White Sox fan. I was the only one who was a White Sox fan. Since then, Fegan, obviously, not on the beat anymore, but was a White Sox fan and so forth. And, I just tell everybody, you think that makes me inclined to root for the White Sox? I'm way harder on the White Sox because I'm a White Sox fan. And, and I think that speaks to what you're saying, Malachi. Get specific. That's Chicago Sky fan Malachi Hayes right there, folks. Resis, get specific, because this is tough. This is a tough hurdle to get over, because this is you can say what you want about Clevenger, La Russa, the fact that Jerry won't die, whatever. This, I would argue, is the brashest double bird that we've gotten from the White Sox front office. And I'm frightened to see what comes next after this. But, I'd say this is as daunting as it's been. Indigestion for the rest of you?
Yeah, Malachi hit the nail on the head with that. The least qualified GM in baseball. Like, I remember when I heard that he was promoted to, head of player development. It's like, wait, the same Chris Getz who wasn't very good at baseball? Like, where the hell did he come from? Like, I didn't hear anything of any other jobs. It's not like someone who rose through the ranks. It's basically some person who hasn't, held office or done anything. It's like, I should be president. It's just that kind of underqualified nonsense that people just say, like, well, I should get the top job immediately without anything else. And that's the way the White Sox are run. And that's the way they've always been run. And it just doesn't make any sense. It's one of those things like, how is Chris Getz suddenly going to become the head of White Sox baseball? Like, the guy that makes all the decisions. Like, it's staggering. And yeah, I don't know. It blows my mind. And it's just the way that we do things. And you're right. This is the brashest thing they've done. You couldn't pick something else. It just says, we're not going to listen. We're just going to do things the Jerry way. It's the perfect encapsulation of the last 40 years.
You know what Chris Getz's qualifications are? He spent time in Kansas City.
Yeah,
that's true. And he's unemployable elsewhere.
He's unemployable elsewhere. I mean, he is a familiar face in the organization, and we know Jerry was never going to hire somebody from the outside that would tell him how messed up, how fucked up, I'll say it, his organization is. Ass backwards from the top down. He wasn't going to, like, he's 87. He's not going to hire a real president of baseball operations that would actually change things. A thought that popped into my head, and maybe this is just my own wishful thinking, is that, like, Getz is being hired because he's familiar, but it's his show until the sale. Like, maybe Jerry the last shred of hope that I'm clinging to is that maybe, just maybe, he is the stand-in until the sale, and like things behind the scenes are going on, and no qualified person is going to come here and take the job, like in lame duck status that like you might have a new owner in 3, 4, or 5 years. That's the only thing. Hey, come on. I'm trying to be optimistic here, Brett.
I was expecting like 3, 4 months, 3, 4 years.
Oh no! I mean, come on. It's not. It's like selling a team's not an easy process, and especially for JR, who doesn't even own the whole entire thing. Like,
no, he doesn't.
The ownership group is so messy that it would take lawyers and lawyers and lawyers to sort it all out. Like, I mean, I'm expecting Getz to be named the executive. Like, he's going to be named to Hahn's job. There's going to be no KW. He's going to be the sole decision maker, and that's that. Like, I'm expecting that tomorrow, and God help us. Non-existent God help us.
Yeah, along with porn guy. Don't forget there is a Kenny Williams in this, and it's Dayton Moore. Upgrade.
Consultant.
So let me touch on that. So first of all, if Chris Getz was any good, he would have been poached by now, right?
Even Rick Hahn was almost poached way back in the day. So he's measures worse than even Rick Hahn was. Yes. Sorry.
Right. But that's okay. But I'm bothered less by the piss poor baseball aspect of it than I am by, like you mentioned, Brett, just like the slap in the face that comes from things like that quote to Scott Merkin. Was it Merck with the quote? I'm sorry.
Yep. Merck.
Okay. And then like to add Dayton Moore under this like facade of morality or ethics, fuck off. Oh. Fuck off. That's it.
Yeah, that well said. Yeah. I'm with you.
I don't think we can get anybody with scruples to come here. So that might be the reality of it too. Like, we could try to find somebody, but really, who wants to come to this dumpster fire?
I mean, there's people like hired from Fangraphs. I mean, I've heard that repeated, and I get it, and we're major market and all. But I mean, I know it's not like, well, I'm available. Okay, I get it. But I mean, they're, and I know we don't necessarily want a newbie who isn't going to necessarily even handle a basic press conference. I know that's a path that's, wrought with danger as well, but it's certainly no worse than what we've been doing. So this notion that's like, well, anyone with any clue would not want to come here. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I get it. It's worse than ever. And a lot of people would just laugh at the call from the White Sox. It wouldn't be 100% taking the call for sure, but 0%.
Well, there may be somebody who wants to come, but they might not be good at all. They might be, I don't know. I'm not sure we can draw top talent because we're not going to pay for top talent. And we don't have the atmosphere of like, hey, I want to go there because they're up and coming. So you might get some low life person who's just as equally bad, and we'll have to dig up all the crap on them.
Dayton Moore. That's like, there's a reason why names like that are being floated and not like James Click or, Mike Rizzo staying in DC. Like, even if top talent wanted to come, is this the environment that they're going to thrive in? Like, dude, what is the White Sox reputation amongst baseball executives? I can't imagine it's very good.
Yeah, they know they're not going to have. They know they don't have the say anyway. So
right.
There's out of town stupid, but there's not that out of town stupid, right?
Not that much. There's not that level of out of town stupid. Like, baseball executives talk. Everybody in those ranks, they have. It's a small knit group of people who all are running things. There's no chance in hell that like outside executives don't know exactly how the White Sox work. And if you actually want to work in baseball and have a future, you're not going to come sign on here. Like Pedro Grifol, he's never managing again. Like Rick Hahn is never getting a GM job again. Chris Getz shouldn't be in line to get a GM job. Dayton Moore should just stay as a special advisor, because only ass backwards organizations like the White Sox are going to think, oh, let's bring in Dayton Moore because that's an upgrade. No.
There's just 30 jobs. I don't know. All right. Well, any other thoughts about Chris Getz and our relative enthusiasm for this? I mean, listen, everybody here has had some positive things to say. I don't know what's going to keep me up tonight, wondering whether my stance should change. But I guess in the category of let's just wait until the bad news comes, I can be a fan for one more night. White Sox.
This is going to be like the end of Braveheart. They can't take it from.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen.
Seriously, like, they can't take my fandom. Like, they can break it, they can hurt it, they can, death by 1,000 paper cuts, but like, they don't have the right to take it from me, and only I can rescind that. And like, I love doing this. Yes, Brett, you feel guilt for inviting me. As miserable. I'm having fun. This has been one of the for as miserable as this team is, doing this and finding interesting things to say is challenging, but it's also a hell of a lot more fun than just screaming into the void on Twitter. So like, they can't steal my fandom. They can't steal our fandom. They can't steal our community. And Jerry Reinsdorf, he can go fuck himself for all I care. Like, White Sox are a part of me, and I'll still be here. Whenever he's no longer walking the earth, like, I'll come back and reinvest emotionally. In the meantime, I'm like gonna save my sanity, but no one's taking my fandom away.
Me and you, Ryan, we can tramp the dirt down. We'll find that grave. We'll tramp it down. Look at this superstar panel here. Almost a full Brady grid. We got Super Joseph Resis going way back. Me and Joe. One of the first guys who came on with me. He's been with us all along. He's in California now. And guess what? He's still with us. He's still doing minors. He's still doing recaps. He's still podcast superstar. He's back with us. He's got a connection. He threw away the string and the tin can, and he is back with us. Melissa Sage-Bollenbach bringing the heat in my absence. Superstar in the making, South Side Sox summary, whatever the hell that concept was. She is riding it out all year, and I know she's regretting it, but she's done a little bit of everything for us. I appreciate that hugely. Malachi Hayes, analysis. He does the metrics thing. He does the recap thing. He does the podcast. He pitches. He does everything. I still got to warm up that arm. I haven't seen any footage yet. We need this guy pitching. He's on dugout metrics with us now. So we need to get that arm limbered up, Malachi. But stick with it. Keep jutting that chest. Keep jutting the chest. Keep jutting the chin out. As a White Sox fan, I can't do it, but you can. Ryan, well said. I don't feel so guilty anymore. I'm glad you're with us, and I'm glad, and again, done a ton of different stuff for us in a real quick manner. Good vibes, medium vibes, bad vibes, ambivalent vibes. Jacki Krestel, no matter what, it is wonderful to have you with us. It's so nice to see you again, and thank you for hopping on and doing a little bit of writing as well in this miserable season. It would have been easy for you just to punt it. And I'm glad you haven't. I'm glad you're here with us. Thank you for being here. And Brian O'Neill, oh my goodness, the most eloquent of our columnists. Now he finally gets to just sit back and never preview a series ever again, because he only did like 86 of them. I guess it was just 29 or so, but all of those are very entertaining. I don't know, he's got a column like coming out, I don't know, along with this podcast or maybe in another day or so. It's going to be great. Read it. Come on.
Read it.
He's a gift who keeps on giving, even when he says, like, don't hate the Cubs. You don't have to read that one. Okay, listen, great group with me here. I guess we'll do another podcast. I don't know. We'll do one at some point. Will I do it? Well, I don't know. I guess if there's copy to read, we got to make that $25. Fans First Sports Network. You can get 4 free tickets to week 1. Go enter the contest. You could win football tickets. Isn't that exciting? All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening, reading, whatever it is you're doing. I can't believe you're still with us. Thanks for being with us. because otherwise we would just be lonely. We'd just be talking to ourselves. We might be doing that anyway. Who knows? But I'm sure those numbers are going to just crank and kick ass for Fans for Sports Network. Thank you on behalf of my 6 guests. We'll be back with you. I don't know if it's sooner than you expect us, but likely, given the fact that we probably should do no more podcasts all season. We'll be back sooner than you're ready for us.